Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to DingoTalk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest this week is the head football coach of Sewanee, the University of the South, Coach Andy McCollum. Before we get to Coach's story, first let's tell you a little bit about the University of the South. There's 1,735 students. It's located in Sewanee, Tennessee. The acceptance rate is 52%. The graduation rate is 80%. The cost before aid is $68,000. The cost after aid is about $20,000. Their top three majors are econ and quantitative economics, psychology, and biology. The next one down, very close with biology, was poli-sci. And their website, where you can get all this information, plus learn a little bit more about the college, learn about the academic standards that they have, and look into the sports team, it's new.sewanee.edu. And as we've told you every week, make sure you talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your parents, talk to the coaches that are recruiting you, talk to the coaches that are coaching you currently. If this is something that you think would be a good fit for you, look them up on the website, get in contact with their admissions counselors. That being said, we're rolling into week 2. Coach is going to talk to us about his journey, 43 years worth of coaching, why Sewanee is the place that he felt that was part of the next chapter of his life. We're also going to talk in the overtime segment. We're going to find out if DB, me, or Serenity got the win from last week. We're going to talk about the 10 games that we're talking about this week and what we're going to be watching. All that and more. But without further ado, it's not my job to tell Coach's story. It's his job. So this is Coach Mack. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week is the head football coach of Sewanee, the University of the South, Coach Andy McCollum. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely. Coach, we're going to do this the way we do every week. I'm going to throw you in the time machine real quick, take you back to your playing days, and we're going to work to today. So my question for you is, how did you find yourself at Austin Peay in 1977?
I grew up in Marietta, Georgia. And back in those days, there wasn't but 2 schools in the state of Georgia, the University of Georgia and Georgia Tech. So all the guys that got recruited out of there went out of state to go places unless you were that caliber guy. So Austin Peay recruited me. It was kind of how you learn in recruiting. They told me I was going to play quarterback. And I had Western Carolina, Chattanooga, Middle Tennessee, Tennessee Tech, a lot of other opportunities at that level, but I'd never heard of Austin Peay. But I went up there and I saw the quarterbacks and said, I think I can go play there. So I ended up going to Clarksville, Tennessee, and to Austin Peay, and got there. And my freshman year, I started the season off number 12. Wasn't a starting quarterback. Coach came to me and said, we got to find someone for you to play. I said, yes, sir. Moved me to tight end. I was 205 pounds. So I went from number 12 to 83. And then they came back 2 weeks later and said, we got to find someone for you to play. And then they put number 66 on me. And I played offensive guard at 205 pounds and started the last 4 games. And it was the only championship won in the history of Austin Peay until about 8 years ago.
Wow.
So that's how I got started there. I played for Boots Donnelly and Watson Brown. First 2 years with Boots Donnelly and then Watson Brown. And they're, Watson had a long time career at a lot of places, and Boots Donnelly was a Middle Tennessee guy for 20-some years. And then from there, when I finished, didn't know what I was going to do. Had not thought about coaching, had not finished my degree, was traveling around playing softball, slow pitch, and having a good time. And finally, Boots Donnelly called me up to come and coach at Middle Tennessee in 1981. And that's where I got started coaching.
Now, and that's your first stop in Middle Tennessee, correct?
Yes, that was the first stop. Went there as a assistant from 81 to 89.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left there. We had a lot of great years there, a lot of championships. 85, we were number 1 in the country and got beaten. We had a big rival with Georgia Southern back in those years when that was getting started with Irk Russell. And then left there in '89 and went to Texas El Paso. Went to UTEP. Never been out of the South. Um, one of my mentors, David Culley, who was the head coach at Houston Texans a couple of years ago, was a close friend of mine and convinced me to go with him to Texas El Paso. So I got out there in 1989. They picked me up at the airport, and the wind was blowing about 40, 50 miles an hour, and tumbleweed was hitting the car, and I saw no grass. And I thought, what the hell have I done with my life here? But it ended up being probably one of the best places I ever lived. Greatest people. Loved my time at UTEP, and stayed there 4 years. And then Baylor University, Chuck Reedy became the head coach after Grant Taft retired. Coach Taft retired, and Chuck Reedy became the head coach. We knew each other from recruiting against each other in Houston, Texas. That was my area. And so I ended up going to Baylor. And so I got to Baylor. I think the year was, I can't remember what year it was.
94.
94. No, it's probably the year before that, 93. Yeah, 93, 94, 95. I was ended up there about 8 years. I had a great time in Waco. And matter of fact, Chuck Reedy had a lot of success there. We had gone to a bowl, which he hadn't been in a while, taking over for a legendary Coach Taft, and that's always tough. And so we had, we didn't have what they got there now at Baylor. We played in the stadium off campus, and but it was we had tough teams there. I mean, really good teams, and a lot of really good players, and had great staffs. Chuck Reedy had some of the best staffs I've ever been associated with. And so I stayed there, and then 1994, after the 94, going into the 95 season, I got called by Phil Fulmer to go to the University of Tennessee. And so it was a hard thing to do. Loved the kids we had there, and defensively we were pretty dang good. But going back, being back close to home, Coach Fulmer. So I ended up leaving Baylor to go to the University of Tennessee. And what ended up happening, I ended up staying 2 months at Tennessee. And Chuck Reedy didn't hire anybody. They called me back to come back as the associate head coach and defensive coordinator to go back to Baylor. And it was very tough leaving Tennessee. I was 3 hours from home, where I'm from, and but in the profession at that time, and it wasn't a money thing. It was that, back then you had to be a coordinator to have a chance to be a head coach. Right. They like it now. They hire people to just wave flags really good right now as head coaches. So, but so I needed to be a coordinator. So, and it was hard to leave Tennessee, but I went back, and I was in 95. Remember, I'm looking at the picture up here. I ended up being D coordinator, had a great staff. I was young and had some older guys, Mike Bugar, Bob Cope, Robert James. All of them were older and a lot more experienced than I was. And so they were a tremendous asset for me. And we ended up fifth in America in defense that year. My first year as coordinator. Then 96, they fired Coach Reed our first year in the Big 12. We ended up, I think, 5-6 or something. And, it was a whole different world, out of the Southwest Conference into the Big 12. Now we're playing Oklahoma. Nebraska was national champs. And, but for whatever reason, they fired a really good head coach in Chuck Reedy. And then I ended up staying with the next guy, Dave Roberts, for 2 years, and set the program back for 20 years until Art Browse came and straightened it back out.
Right.
So I stayed here 2 years, and then I got the offer to go to Middle Tennessee, back to Middle Tennessee as the head coach to replace the legendary Boots Donnelly. And it was our first year transitioning into Division I at Middle Tennessee. And so I went back here as head coach and spent 7 years there as the head coach there, and then left there, went to Tennessee Titans for a year. Was a what they call a scout.
Yeah.
Got to spend time with the defense, and then I'd scout our next opponent games. Really enjoyed Jeff Fisher was really good to me. Then I went to North Carolina State with who I consider a legendary Tom O'Brien.
Hmm.
When he took the job at North Carolina State and learned a lot with Coach O'Brien. I mean, what a great man. So stayed there for 3 years with him, and then Paul Johnson called to go to Georgia Tech, and so got to work for another legend, and stayed 9 years at Georgia Tech, and a lot of wins, a lot of great man, great friend. Hated when he retired, kind of caught us all off guard. When he retired, we won a lot of games, won the Orange Bowl in 2014,
Hmm.
sixth in America, won the Gator Bowl in 16. I mean, we just, but everybody was always moaning and groaning about his offense. And all they did was score a lot of points, and nobody wanted to play it, but everybody wanted to moan and groan about it because you didn't throw enough. We still had receivers that got drafted every year, but and we were still in Russell gear. we're in Russell gear. I think the last year I was there, we finally went to Adidas. So we got bashed in recruiting about everything, but all Paul Johnson did was win, and had great kids. And everybody said you couldn't go to the NFL out of that offense, and we got beat up so bad. But we had a lot of NFL players that are still playing right now, that we had at Georgia Tech. So I had a great time there. Then Paul retired. The COVID year hit, went to Western Carolina, worked with Mark Spear for a year during the COVID time, and then went to University of Buffalo 2 years before I came here with Maurice Lindquist, who is now the secondary coach at Alabama.
Hmm.
And Mo's a great coach and a great guy and a relentless recruiter. And we won the bowl game our second and beat Georgia Southern, which is kind of irony there is that I've been playing them all my life at Middle Tennessee. Think if I don't go to University of Buffalo where it's 4 feet of snow up there, we go and play Georgia Southern in Montgomery, Alabama in the bowl game, and had a good win there. And then got the call from Sewanee, from Coach Shackford, John Shackford, a longtime legend here as a tennis coach. Just unbelievable man. And I think when I looked at it here at Sewanee, being D3, um, I just saw. I came on a visit here and saw a beautiful place. It's up here on the mountain, 13,000 acres, about 25 miles above Chattanooga, about an hour, 15 minutes below Nashville, 2 hours from where I grew up at. In one of my favorite recruiting areas around Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and we recruit Texas. But I saw a man that had been a man that took this job at, it was on the brink of not even having football. And it had been so down.
Hmm.
And so when I came on campus and saw it, and then met with about 10 kids here, 10 of the players here, and what unbelievable young men they were. And this day and time with the transfer portal, with all the NIL, with all the entitlement and all like that, I saw a place that had unbelievable kids,
Hmm.
high academic school. The kids are here because they love playing football and they're serious about education. And so we took the job here. And when we got here, we had 38 total players on the roster. That was it.
Wow.
Had 4 offensive linemen. That was it. That first season last year, we recruited about 36 kids. 18 freshmen played the first year. We won some games. And this year we ended up signing 44. And we've got a roster now up to 94 in a year and a half. And we're still a young team, but we're so much better. We had a tough loss, our first one, against a
Right.
really good Maryville team, and which they were, I think, 8-2 or 9-1 last year. So we played, had a chance to win the game. We was in the game the whole game, was leading at half, 7-6, and turned the ball over a couple of times and had a couple of big explosive opportunities that we barely missed on. So. But it was a good start. I hate losing, but and now we're getting ready for our next game. So this is it's really been a blessing. just to come up on this mountain and see the history up here, man. It's people that don't know about it. We're a charter member of the SEC.
I was going to bring it up. I was hoping you
Yeah.
were going to let me throw it, but
Yeah.
you're right. That is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you thought it's the history up here is just off the charts. I mean, it's the old Shirley Majors, which was Johnny Majors' dad. Longtime Tennessee coach and Heisman runner-up Johnny Majors is from 20 miles from Phil Fulmer from right down the mountain in
I didn't know.
Winchester. And so you've got a lot of history here. You've got a lot of guys that really put into a lot in this place, and it's listed right now. I don't know if you knew this, you might have looked it up, but in 2000, I don't know, 16, 15, 18, they voted at the College Football Hall of Fame for the best football team in the history of college football. And the 1899 team from Sewanee is listed in the College Football Hall of Fame as the best football team ever. Undefeated, scored on once, and I'm looking at it they played 6 games in 7 days. And they beat Texas A&M, Tulane, LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas. And on the 7th day, they rested. And there's a lot of history. My players kid me; they think I was on that dang team. But it does have that history. I mean, you think about it. In 1899, University of Tennessee played up here on this mountain.
Right.
And I laugh about it now because there was some things hit the social media that because we were charter member of the SEC, we could go back into it right now. So could, I think, Tulane, and so could Georgia Tech, as being charter members of the SEC. So
right.
I don't think my AD wants to, but I told him we might want to look into it.
Now, Coach, there's a lot to unpack there. I got to ask you a couple questions. So
Yeah.
First, where does the Sun Belt Championship rank for you? As that being your first championship as a head coach, where does it rank for you?
Oh, that was awesome. It was, we took over, that was back in, there wasn't no portal in, there wasn't no all the transfer stuff then. So, you had to win in recruiting.
Right.
And so we took the Middle Tennessee program. It was coming from 1AA. And the year before we got there, it had gone like 4-7, in 1AA. My first 3 games as a head coach was against Mississippi State, Arizona, and Arkansas when I took the job there. So our second year there, our first year we went 3-8, and probably won the games we were supposed to. And then got drummed. Mississippi State drummed us. Arkansas drummed us, and a couple other ones, and that bit pretty good, but still got bad memories on some of them. But the second year we came back and ended up going 6-5. So we had a winning season that second year. And then the third year was our, the first year into the Sun Belt. And we opened up with Vanderbilt, and we beat Vanderbilt. The opening game of the year at Vandy, probably ranks as one of my funnest games I've ever been associated in.
Is that a James Franklin coached Vanderbilt?
No, it was right before James. It was Woody Hoffer. Woody Woodenhofer was the head coach there. And so we beat Vanderbilt on the road there. And then we came up and we ended up getting upset by North Texas on the road, and they were really good. That's when they got their run started with Daryl Dickey as the head coach, and they ended up winning a lot of championships after that. But we lost to LSU that year with Nick Saban as the head coach down there at LSU, and then we lost to Ole Miss with Eli Manning as the coach. So we end up tying for the Sun Belt Conference and championship, and then after that is, we end up playing. If you go back and look, I think I used to have it written down. We played 30. Those teams at Middle Tennessee, which really built the foundation for them going into D1. I think we played 36 Power 5 teams in my tenure there. And we played some of them. You go back in history of it, we gave Alabama all they wanted. Missouri in overtime got us. We beat Vanderbilt 3 times, which is a bid, and it's 25 miles down the road. So we had a lot of success there. And so then after that, after our time there, then I ended up moving on.
Now, the next spot is another question I have. What goes into being a scout in the NFL? Because I understand, when you're the high school scout, you're normally a JV coach. You go down the road, film everything, get ready, get the cards ready. College, it's a little different. You're getting the cards ready, but you're not necessarily going down the road to look. You have a scout that's going. What's the NFL scouting like?
I loved it. It was a year after my Middle Tennessee thing went down, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was still under contract, and I think my contract stated if I took another job, they didn't owe me nothing. And so I ended up saying, all right, if that's the case, I'll end up sitting out this year.
Right.
So it was in the summer of that summer that Titans were in camp, and I can't remember where. It was at Austin Peay, to be honest with you. They were doing summer camp at Austin Peay. They're training. And I went up there and watched them practice one day. I was going to go watch a lot of teams that year and spend time just watching and learning and seeing how the people did things. And then I got talking with Coach Fisher, and he asked what I was going to do. And I told him, and he said, why don't you come up here as an advanced scout for us? And I didn't know nothing about it. And end up, what I would do is I would go during the season. I'd be in the offices. And I got to spend time with the defense, Dave McGinnis, and there were some great coaches, Jim Swartzy, a lot of great coaches on that staff. And so I got to spend time during the week watching practice, hanging out, sitting in meetings, doing all that. But then on Saturdays, I would fly out to our next game opponent.
Okay.
So if we played the Colts the next week, then I would go wherever the Colts were playing, and I would go watch the Colts. And it was kind of like anything you did. I would watch substitutions. I would watch the tempo. I would have all the personnel. I would write special teams down. I would try to see if I could get signals out of it. Whatever could help the team win. Injuries was big because the pro teams would take their injured guys and they would work them out earlier before the team came out to warm up. And so I would watch the guys they were working out. Not that they were going to play that game, but did they look like they could play our game the next week? Right. I can remember seeing a tight end get hurt in the game, and I saw him carry him off, and kind of saw it after the game that he was hurt pretty bad. And I came back and told our guys he won't play this week. And they said, oh, yeah, he'll be back. I said, no, he ain't going to play. I saw it. I was there. I ain't telling you how I saw it. I was there. And he was not playing. He didn't play. So there was a lot that went into it. Tempo, some things you couldn't see on film. Were they tempo? Were they trying to hurry? How fast were they trying to snap the ball at the clock? How much time was on that clock? And, I can remember the first game I went to was the New York Giants and the Jets at that stadium. And I was up there, and you had all these scouts lined up down there. And I had my legal pad, and I didn't know what I was supposed to have. And they all had their notes. They had some of them had tape recorders, and they were doing this. And I'm like, oh, jeez, I better get caught up on this quick. And it was so far down there, I didn't have binoculars, and some of them had binoculars, and they were talking. And I'm like, boy, I told Coach Fisher, I said, I got caught up pretty quick. And and I had some guys up there to help me. They would show me, and it was a big group of people. But I enjoyed it. It was great, after a tough situation, being in Middle Tennessee 7 years and being let go. At a school that I loved, and what we had done to get it to where it was.
Right.
And playing 3 or 4 BCS teams every year, your other games better be perfect or you're not going to have a winning season.
Right.
And so that was, but Jeff Fisher gave me an opportunity, and what a great head coach he was, and I mean, smart. And so I would come back in off the road. I came there, Monday or Tuesday, whatever days they go off, and I'd meet with the offense. And I'd tell them what, I saw, and then I'd meet with the defense, and then I'd meet with the special teams. Jim Washburn was the D-line coach, and I used to love sitting with him. He was one of the best D-line coaches I've ever been around in my life. And so I'm still appreciative of my career being at the age I am now that Jeff Fisher gave me that opportunity that year, because it kept me going in coaching. And I really have a lot of respect for Jeff Fisher.
Now, Coach, I got to ask, you're a guy born and raised in the South. You've coached most of the time in the South. You have that trip up north. I got to ask you, what's the big difference? What's the difference between Southern ball players and Northern ball players?
You know what? That's a great question. I've never been, I used to always tell people I had to coach up north. Pittsburgh is where I like to coach, because I used to love their stadium right there on that river when we played them at Georgia Tech, and I loved that town. But going to Buffalo, it was tough on me and my wife to start with, because when I told her that I'm going to take this job at Buffalo with Coach Mo, and I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "Hell no." She's a Tennessee girl. And we made it work for 2 years, but Mo gave me that opportunity. I worked with some great people on that Shane Montgomery, Joe Coffin, Chris White, Cedric Douglas. I just had some great coaches up there, and it was, after being a head coach, to be able to help Mo navigate through some things, so him to lean on me, we became great friends. And he's a dang good football coach, man. I mean, really good football coach. But the people in Buffalo were awesome. I mean, I still talk to a lot of them. They love football, and people want to talk about the Bill Mafia, people that ain't been there and ain't seen it. That's real.
It's different.
It's unbelievable up there. And I really enjoyed my time there. And they love football just like we love it in the South, especially in Buffalo. Now it's cold as hell. It's but it ain't but about 3-4 months out of the year. And I'm somebody, people that know me know I ain't never worn those socks. And I didn't wear socks there either. I mean, people would call me and say, "How you handling it up there?" I said, "Y'all, if I can get from the parking lot to my office,
you're good."
Yeah, I mean, y'all, they got heaters up here, And the thing about it is, they got 4 or 5 feet of snow up there, and then if you can get out of your apartment parking lot to the road, there ain't no problem. You get 5 inches down here, and it's shut down for a month. I mean, so. But I can remember when me and Coach Shackelford talked. The first time we started talking about this job, I looked out my window. There's 4 feet of snow out there, but they don't think nothing about it up there. It's just a way of life. And but the one I had a lot of respect for was the coaches before us, the Leopold at Kansas. They didn't have an indoor. They had just got the indoor for sitting. Now, I don't know how they did it. With us having the indoor, they used to tell me they had practice at night, had to go to Buffalo Bills complex to practice at 9:00 at night. And that's a 30-minute, 45-minute drive from where our complex was. So the job they did out there, Lance and them did, was unbelievable after being out there for 2 years. And now you see how good a coach he is. Look what he's doing at Kansas. So that, but Buffalo they were very good to me, man. And Coach Mo and that staff, Joe Cawthon, and all the guys I worked with there. I mean, Rod, there's a bunch of just great people, man.
Now, Coach, you covered in your intro. What I normally ask you is how you ended up and why Sewanee. Now, my follow-up to that is, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about the campus, about the college, and about your program.
Our program has been been down, like I said, it had a lot of history. And I used to go over this mountain. This mountain's unbelievable. It's right if you're going to go leave Atlanta, Georgia to go to Nashville, you go right over Mount Eagle, which is the mountain here. So I used to ride over it all the time when I was at Middle Tennessee, going back and forth recruiting in Georgia and Chattanooga. But it's a beautiful place. I mean, high academic school. I asked somebody when I got here, if I got a kid's got trouble, is there an easy class? They said, nope, there's not. So it's like I said, it's a bunch of trails up here. I think how many miles of trail? I'm asking somebody. 60 miles of trails up here, 13,000 acres, waterfalls. The change of the leaves in the fall is just off the chart. It's Episcopal school. Now and it was different for me 'cause I'm just old Southern Baptist. And I think Episcopal, like they tell me, is what in between a kind of a Catholic religion. But they still believe in Christ and still believe in Jesus, and that's good by me. And so there's a lot of great professors here, and it's a domain up here. The 13,000 acres, and a lot of professors and a lot of alum live here up on this mountain, on these bluffs. And and it's got such a proud tradition, and they wanted it back. And again, Coach Shackelford, they win national championships in tennis around here. I mean, there's a lot of good sports here, but football hadn't been. And so we took the challenge, and and it's still a challenge. We're still getting caught up. We're playing a lot of freshmen, sophomores now, and but boy, we're close. And so we just got to keep on doing what we're doing. And the network here was off the chart. The business school here, the medical, the law, the engineering. I mean, you get a degree from here, you set up for your life.
Right.
And I joke all the time about ain't nobody on my staff could have got in here. I can promise you. I'm proud of my 2.5 PE degree from Austin P. So it's
I don't know if I could have got in there.
Ain't no doubt. But just getting the people that we deal with daily, and just seeing a little bit of success we had last year. We won our first road game in a long time, beat a team in the conference first time in 18 years. I mean, there was some positives. The crowd, I mean, we played one game last year. We started out 3-1, and we had over 5,000 up here on this mountain. And when I took this job, I said my goal is to see a traffic jam up on this mountain. And they knocked on my door that morning, getting ready for the game. Said, "Coach, look out your window," and there was a traffic jam up here. So there's a lot of excitement. You got the bigs around here. You got University of Tennessee, who everybody's either Big Orange or Alabama or Georgia around here. But I tell them, I said, y'all, we can be your second. All y'all can't get a ticket over there. All y'all's not going to that game. So we can be your second team and just drive up here and hang out with us on the mountain. And if you saw a game up here, if you came up here and saw the environment, I mean, you think, wow, and we hadn't played a night game here in a while, and I'd like to get a night game, but they say the fog comes in here at night, and you better be a running team because you can't see nothing if that fog gets come up here. When I drive, the thing about it is, when I drive up, I live at the bottom of the mountain, and when I come to work, I come up from the Winchester side, and there's a cross on the side of this mountain that's lit up at night, big cross. And you see the sun coming up right above that cross. And it's a blessing every day I drive up on this mountain, knowing that I got the opportunity to come coach these kids. It's a true blessing. These kids are here because they love playing, man. And it ain't what you're giving me. It's kind of like I heard Coach Saban say, when he was, getting out of it, when everybody comes in there and says how much I'm gonna make this year. These kids love playing. I love these kids, and they deserve to be successful here. And now that we're seeing that football's getting back a little bit and we're competitive, and now the wins I think are going to start coming for us. We believe that, and there's no telling how many people start coming back to these games around here.
Let's talk about this week's opponent. Last year, it was a victory for you guys. This week, you get the chance at Westminster, the Westminster from down your way, not the Westminster from up my way. I got to remind people that there's two of them. There's one in Missouri and there's one in Pennsylvania. This is the one in Missouri. What are we expecting? What are you expecting? How do you feel going as we're sitting here Monday before the week?
Today's our day off of our kids. We practiced on Sunday and didn't know a lot about them going into it. We played them last year on the road out there in Missouri. They have a new staff. They got a lot of units and they won their first game, which is exciting for them. So they're excited. We know I can promise you that we're not good enough to sit there, and we better be ready for everybody. And our kids know that very, very well. We don't have a lot of room for error. And that's what happened to us a week ago. We had some great opportunities to win that game. People didn't think we could win it. And, like I said, we was up 7-6 at the half and had a chance with a home run play to start the second half and missed it. So we got to correct the things that we did like everybody else in the country. Your biggest improvement to me, like from game 1 to game 2. We got to learn from what happened in game 1. And it's not just coaches, and players. It's all this thing together and see how much better we can get this week. And I want our kids to start taking a lot of pride in winning at home.
Right.
Win your home games, man. And so we know we got a challenge coming up. We beat them last year. This is going to be a whole different team. Last year don't mean anything.
Right.
This is a whole different team, whole new staff, and watching the little film we've had today, they're playing hard, and so we got to go, not turn the ball over, and we can't give games away, and so that's what we got to continue working at. And the biggest thing for us, I know it's cliche, but let's worry about us.
Right.
Let's get us better. Let's see how good Sewanee can be this week. Let's see how good we can practice. And, we'll have a physical day on Tuesday and another physical day on Wednesday. And I'm kind of old school when it comes to that. And, and then Thursday we'll come off a little bit, have a perfect day. And then Friday, tune it up and let's go play on Saturday. And let's represent all the people that came before us, that have put that block S on their helmet. Let's represent those guys. And I'm very big on that. And I want all these Sewanee alums that played here and that have a lot of history be proud of this football team and get more involved in it. And that's what we need here. So we got a tough challenge, but at D3 you don't get but 10 of them.
That's right.
And then you got a chance. Well, so we're down 1. So this is our next opportunity. And so let's see how good we can be on this day.
Now, Coach, interesting enough, you brought up you get 10 of them, and then this year, for the first time, we're expanding that playoff system to 40 teams as opposed to the 32. For those of you who don't know, it was 29 automatic qualifiers and the 3 teams that were at large bids. Now it's going to be 11, 9. I don't know. There's 40 now. There was 20. There's 32 before. Coach, where do you guys fall with that? Is that the right number, given that there's 227 Division III schools? Was it time for the expansion?
Yes, I think so, especially when you only play 10 games. I was disappointed last year because we had 2 really good teams in this league last year, in Trinity out of Texas and Berry, and only 1 team out of our league went. Right. And I know good and well Berry would have beat some teams. Trinity ended up winning our conference, and they were really good. And it's like I told our people after our first year, we don't look like them. We got to get caught up to looking like the Berries and the Trinities. But and there wasn't much difference between those 2. And there's no way in the world you can't tell me Berry doesn't get in the playoffs last year, right? Coming from this league. This is a good league. It's a very competitive league. So that's so if it takes expansion to make sure we got 2 or even 3 teams out of this league, that ought to be happening. We played some teams in other leagues, and they're not as good as a couple that I played in this league. So there's some good coaches in this league. Yeah, the expansion ought to have. Anytime the kids get an opportunity to play more, come on now. I'm all for that now. I ain't all for only 18 or 20 games. Now that Middle Tennessee back in the 80s, we had the 1AA playoffs and we had some runs there. And sometimes it gets going so long, whoever the healthiest team at the end is going to be the winner, not the best team.
Right.
Whoever the healthiest team is going. You start losing key players in the playoff games, and I don't care what you ranked. It don't matter. You lose key players, you're just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like the 1AA playoffs when we were in there, and so hopefully we can get this team. It'd be a joy to see a Sewanee team in a playoff one day soon. I hope. I'm not getting no younger. We got to get this thing right.
Well, they said you played on that 1899 team. It's amazing. You look great for almost 200 years old.
I still got a cut on my head from wearing the non-helmets they used to wear back in.
Coach, the other big news that came out same day that the playoff system got expanded, we made the announcement that we're going to 18, the possibility of 18 iPads per sideline. How do you feel about adding that piece of technology to the sideline? How do you feel that it's going to now add coaches? It's going to take a little bit away from what you as coaches can do and game planning as opposed to just a quick adjustment. Where do you fall with that?
For this level, for overall?
For this level.
For this level, I ain't got but 6 coaches on my staff. All right. We don't have a grad school here. All right. I got 6 full-time coaches and me and a football operation guy. Who the hell's going to run the iPad? I ain't all shot in the butt with all. I think sometimes we get all this analytics and we get all this coach ball. Coach Ball. Coach Ball, you can't see that that's a shade, and not a 2 technique. I mean, these stadiums aren't that big and you can hear each other. And I don't know who's going to work my iPad. I don't know who to put in the box to do an iPad. And I don't care nothing about it.
Coach Ball, you just want to coach ball and
what do you got coaches for? I mean, let me just start hiring iPad dudes and just see if that helps. I don't know. When we first got here, kind of a little bit off of that. When we first got here, we didn't have video at practice.
Right.
My first spring. And so we're all our coaches were looking at each other like, what are we going to do? I said, hell, when I started coaching, we didn't have video at no practice. I can't imagine having video at practice when I worked for Boots Down. We was already there at 11, 12 o'clock every night.
Right.
How long would we have been there? We'd had video. So that means if they screw something up, do it again, and coach it and teach it. I think the video world, when it first came out, everybody talking about, don't run against us, keep running plays. We'll see it on film tonight. I don't see the same thing wrong 10 times tonight when I could have corrected today. It's no different than my kids. When they did something wrong, I spanked them on that day, probably. I didn't wait 3 hours or 4 hours later on to spank them.
Yeah, you weren't looking for video review on what
they saw the video review or iPad. I mean, come on. So it's like one of them things was flying over them drones, and they're good.
Yeah.
It took somebody to show me they were good. And took a high school coach and one of my best friends down in Dublin, Georgia, say, because I know if he's doing it, I probably need to look at it. And we had drones here before I got here, so I was all for that after I saw it. But hell, I still got to have somebody to run it.
Right.
I got people out here to do that. So, the iPad thing, I don't know. I just had to learn more about it and see where it benefits me. I still think you got to recruit and you got to coach. If I got better players than you, I'm probably going to beat you. You got better players than me, you're probably going to be. We're even, and I need to out-coach you.
Right.
And I don't think iPad helps me out. So.
I think, Coach, the last question before we get into the Fast Five. What is the significance of Division III for you? So you've coached at the Division I level and the 1AA level. What is the Division III level? And you said one of the big ones for me. It's that these kids are just there because they want to play ball. They want to get an education. They want to play ball. What's your opinion on that?
I love it. I wasn't sure how I was going to. And we fight. I got a lot of respect for D3 coaches that have been doing it a long time. Because like I said, you're really going back to, we do everything. You ain't got 50 guys on your staff that, if you need a cup of coffee, somebody's running to get the coffee for you.
You better get on your horse.
Yeah, I see so many guys on the sideline now. They got so many titles now, and I don't know what they all do. So it's we'd like to have more, probably, if we had a grad school, which we have a theology school, but and we're located in an area that's, there's not guys, maybe retired coaches that can come up here and help.
Right.
So but that, it's a lot. Recruiting's tough here. Not that there's not kids that want to come here and get a great education and do those things, but there's nothing that binds them.
Right.
That was different for me. When you sat there, and it's kind of like the portal now, but you sat there back in the day and not that long ago, and you signed a kid in February, and well, he's binded.
Right.
Here, they ain't binded till they walk on campus in August. And we'll have guys picking our guy. And that's why I don't even put out our recruiting list. When we sign somebody on signing days or whatever, I don't even put it out there on social media. Because people come in, they'll start, D2s will come in here and, they're picking our kids. And I'm sweating all the way up until August, whatever day we reported, that our whole class is going to be here.
Right.
That's the toughest part of D3. I think there ought to be something that, if you're committed or you sign with that school, you ought to be minded a little bit.
Right.
But the D3 is different than that. And these kids, they get some need here, whether it be financial need, academic need, and things like that, but they're still paying to go to school.
Right.
So that's when I think about the love of the game and the love of your school. But the thing that I see about this that I really like, guys that come here are going to be with each other 4 years later. That ain't happening no more.
Right.
That's the way it used to be. Guys that walked in, when I was at Middle Tennessee, now you lose a guy here and lose a guy there. Guys that walked in together, graduated together, and they're friends for the rest of their life. Now you have a team meeting, and each month there's somebody different in that meeting at other levels. And that's hard to handle. Because we talk about everybody wants to break down family and love and all this. Well, how real is it? When you sit there and half your team, it ain't even the same team the next year.
Right.
Or this guy's getting paid more than this guy. Or this guy that's playing his butt off ain't getting paid because he ain't this position. It's a change of what college was. And that's why what I'm doing now, I'm enjoying, because every day they come here, I can't wait to see them. When I look out at 94 kids right now, I love every one of them, and they're here for a reason. And our job as coaches is still to help them grow up in what ought to be the best times of their life, and that hadn't changed at this level. And so that's what we're going to continue doing. And I'm going to hire people. I got a Division I staff here. I mean, I've got great coaches here that have been with me before, that are young guys that came with me. And so, and these kids know it, and they're excited about being out there every day. We go to practice. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're excited about getting out there and playing, and to walk out here with a degree in their hand. So that's been with what's going on right now. And I'm sure you still got some closeness, some close teams, but boy, it's different. I mean,
Yeah.
if you get on somebody and they hurt their feelings, they go somewhere else. I mean, I'm looking out there right now. When I was at Buffalo, I looked at a kid the other day playing in a game the other night. He'd been to 7 schools, 7 of them. I ain't gonna say no names, but he's been to 7 schools. And I don't even know how he's done that in whatever timetable they got. But 7 schools, and I'm just
7 schools.
I'm flipping on the TV, and I recruited him, and I'm looking like this has got to be a 7th school. So how does that work? I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm enjoying every time I come up the mountain. I can't wait to get with these kids and get out there and practice, watch them get better. And they deserve our best. And that's what we're going to give them every day. And even though I'm getting older in this profession, I've still got the same energy and the same enthusiasm, same passion I've always had. I just can't move around as fast as, well, I never was fast, but can't move around like I used to. Can't jump in no piles no more. If a fight ever breaks out, I ain't trying to break none of that up no more. Hurt myself last time at Middle Tennessee. We had a fight with Kentucky that that's the last one I was getting in, trying to break up. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's been fun for me, and I got 4 or 5 more years. I feel like I can do this, and if I'm going to continue doing it, I love these kids I'm doing it with.
All right, Coach. We call it the Fast Five. Here comes the 5 questions that we end the show with. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Heaven.
Okay. I don't think you need to give me the why. I know the answer on that one.
I look forward to seeing Jesus.
What's the most important lesson that you've learned over your career?
Most important what?
Lesson that you've learned over your career.
Relationships. It's about the relationship with your kids, relationship with your staff, relationship with their families, and having great relationships.
What has kept you coaching for 40 plus years?
Kids, players.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit here, and I know you said fast, but when you sit here and you coach a kid and everybody said how bad a kid he was, or he couldn't do this, or he was dumb, or this and that, and you watch him graduate, and or he was too small. I ran that at Georgia Tech. I had a kid, a linebacker that was 5'9", 220 pounds. I thought was the best player in the state of Georgia. We wouldn't recruit him, wouldn't take him, wasn't sure he could pass at Georgia Tech. All this, we gave every reason not to take him. Finally, Paul, at the end of recruiting, week before signing day, Paul said, "You really love that kid, don't you?" I said, "The best player in the state of Georgia, coach." And they said, "All right, go sign him." We signed him. He's 4-year starter, all conference player, signed with the Jaguars, and graduated from Georgia Tech. So I love it because of the kids and helping them overcome what people think are deficiencies, and helping them all of a sudden see them. I see this kid now. He's got 2 kids. He's a daddy, and he's a good daddy, and that right there is what it's supposed to be about.
If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. I've been doing it so long. I don't know. I put a lot of things. If I wasn't coaching, what would I be doing? Yeah, fishing guide.
It's not bad. You'd have a good day.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. I don't know. I really don't. I really didn't know what I was going to do when I got out of college. I was playing softball, making money, playing softball. I thought that was a hell of a life for a while. Probably selling something, or watching TV and talk about how dumb coaches are, since everybody else in the world does that. Just because we ran the fullback or we ran the inside zone, everybody was, "No way, I ain't throwing it." So I'd probably, like, "Well, why do you call that?" Or, I wouldn't be one of them. So probably fishing.
And then the last question we ask everybody: was there a question that you were expecting today? And if so, how would you have answered it?
No, I think you've asked great questions. Probably if you saw every place I've been, probably you'd say, "How much longer are you going to be doing this?" I'll probably get that one sometime. I guess it's like anything. Everybody, what is your why? And you ask that. And I think that's when I talk to my players or when I talk to my staff, everybody's got a why.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different in coaching. If you tell a kid to do something, well, tell them why. If you don't have a why, you don't have an answer, then I don't know why you're doing it.
Right.
You're really not teaching. So I still think what people outside the coaching world do not get is the things that coaches deal with that nobody outside coaching understands. They think we just go coach. They don't know that somebody could knock on my door right now while we're talking that's got a family issue,
Mm-hmm.
that's got a mental health issue, that's struggling in class, that's struggling with a girlfriend, that's struggling with a teammate, that this family's got issues. It's people outside of what we do, they don't see that. We're counselors, we're psychologists, we're dads, we're friends,
Mm-hmm.
we're mentors. And I just think there's a lot of people out there really don't understand what really goes into coaching. We don't get home at normal hours.
No.
We don't get to spend the time with our kids that hell, other people spending more time with their kids than our kids. And so I think in this coaching profession, when you get to the higher level and even this level, that there's a lot that goes into it that people have no idea. They just think you put a whistle on, go out there and blow the whistle and Saturday and show up and they question what you do. I mean, I just say I watch pro games and I watch that and I see everybody, a guy just coached his first game or a quarterback, quarterback has a bad game. Now let's get rid of quarterback. Well, he had 10 other guys on the field with him.
It's
So how's it always the quarterback?
it's not
You
a
know?
one-man job.
Who's going to win this game? This quarterback or that quarterback? No, is it this team or that team? But you sit there, and the worst thing happening in sports is social media, because now you got coaches all out there that a lot of them ain't even put a helmet on. None of them have been hit in the mouth, but they sure can tell you how to coach, and they can sure tell you what's wrong with that kid, and they can sure attack that kid because he
Played a
dropped the
heck of a
ball.
lot of Madden. Played a heck of a lot of
Oh,
Madden, and now all of a sudden they're all coaches.
everybody knows it. Everybody can coach now, and everybody, but the ones I get, I had it in my family. I take the job at Georgia Tech, and I got people in my family love Georgia all the time. Hell, I still couldn't get them pulled for Georgia Tech. And this is blood. This ain't water, it's blood. I still got them coming to my house. We're in Georgia. Sure, I mean, y'all got to be kidding me. So it's a lot of people don't understand what's put into it, and just the hours and the time that coaches, I don't care what level it is, that they put into recruiting, on the road. And right now with the portal and all that going now, you're sitting there dealing with kids that are asking for things besides coming to your school because of a great university and a great education
Right.
and having those relationships. A lot of them are going for the wrong reasons and they end up leaving again, because of the wrong reasons. So it's tough on college coaches right now.
Well, Coach, I want to say first off, because I said this to Coach Turk and I said it to Coach K over there at Barry. I want to thank you for your Southern hospitality, taking the time to talk to me today. Good luck this weekend. You're on our big board. We'll be watching your game this week for sure.
Awesome.
And for those of you that are sticking around, you know what comes next. It's Overtime with Serenity Brown, where we make those 10 picks. This has been Coach Mack of Sewanee, the University of the South. I am Carlo Guadagnino, and we'll be right back.
What's going on, Chuckleheads, and welcome to Overtime with Serenity Brown. I am Carlo Guadagnino. That's Serenity Brown. Rough week last week for you on the picks. Just going to let you know it was rough. You went 5-5 though, which is 500. Which I believe last year when we ended, you talked about wanting to improve. So I went back through the archives, which is really just last year.
Yeah.
And you did not do as well last year on week 1. So
really,
yeah, you only got 2 right last year. On
already an improvement.
So you've improved. DB was the week 1. He took week 1 8-2. He did not pick the rowing game, which I did. And then it got real bad for me. I went 6-4. So we're going to try to recover this week. Before we get into it, a couple housekeeping things and whatnot. Don't forget, we will be on the road September 21st in Alliance, Ohio at Mount Union John Carroll. Some big news out of the PAC. They're losing a team at the end of this year. Carnegie Mellon deciding deuces. I talked to some people about it. Kind of seemed like it caught some people off guard. A lot of people looking at it from the academic side and saying, oh, yeah, it's a no-brainer for Carnegie Mellon. some people are from the football side are looking at it going, well, you're trading being a top 2, almost playing every year for an automatic qualifier in the PAC to maybe being the 3rd best or 4th best team in the Centennial, depending on the year and who's playing. Johns Hopkins is in the Centennial, Muhlenberg's in the Centennial, Franklin Marshall's in the Centennial.
Work a little harder.
It's going to be an uphill battle, but Carnegie Mellon they've shown that they're a pretty damn good football team. They're not on our board this week. Second week in a row, no PAC school getting put on the board. So, with that being said, it was a great week of football. I think we learned that in Division III, the WEAC is the conference right now. The 4 teams in the top 25, 3 of which being in the top 10, pretty much confirms that. We have a WEAC school here on our board. It's the game of the week. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to Coach McCollum, Coach Mack, for joining us and giving us a lot of information on Sewanee that I did not know. I didn't know they were an Episcopal school, so that's not something you normally hear.
I don't know what that means.
It's just a different sect of Christianity.
Oh, okay.
So, Sewanee, first school that we're going to talk about this week. They lost last week to Maryville, 23-9. If you made it this far, you heard Coach talk about it. There were a lot of times that Sewanee had a chance. They just didn't capitalize on when they needed to, and Maryville did. Westminster, and that's another one. Westminster, it's Westminster, Missouri, not our friends up north in Pennsylvania, up there in Amish country. Westminster last week did win. They beat Manchester, sorry, not McAllister, Reading, 23-3. Last year when these two teams played in Westminster, Sewanee got the win, 32-14. But as Coach pointed out during our interview, it's a completely different team. It's a completely different coaching staff. The roster is definitely hungry to go up onto that mountaintop and get a victory. You're the only one that did not pick Sewanee.
Yes, I'm going with my streak of
not picking the guests.
Not picking the guests. No offense to the guests.
Has it worked for you to this point? To pick against the guest? I would say it's probably 50-50,
yeah,
honestly. So she took Westminster. DB and I took Sewanee. The next game on our board is Ohio Wesleyan at Wabash. Last week, Ohio Wesleyan beat Otterbein 26-7, while Wabash blanked St. Norbert 31-0. Last year, Wabash won this game 31-13. From our standpoint, nobody was picking against Wabash this week. All 3 of us took Wabash. So there's that one. Next up is a school that hopefully will be getting in touch with their coaches. 2 schools out there in Minnesota. Crown College at Simpson. Crown lost last week 35-14 to friend of the show Hamlin, while Simpson lost 31-13 to Augustana. Last year, Simpson won this game 48-46.
Close game.
A lot of points were put up. You and DB took
Simpson.
I took Crown. I like them.
Vibing with them.
Yeah, I liked them. I looked through the box score from last week. I don't think that 35-14 really tells the full story. So I'm rolling with Crown. Next up was UMass Dartmouth versus Fitchburg. Fitchburg.
Yeah.
I was really having a struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, UMass Dartmouth won 64-24 over Nichols. Do you know what mascot Nichols is?
No.
They're a bison as well.
Okay.
Fitchburg won 12-0 over Dean. UMass Dartmouth won this game last year 42-7. You and DB took
Dartmouth.
I took Fitchburg. So I should probably learn to say their name. If
Yeah.
I'm going to pick them, I should know how to.
I would say.
I should not stutter so much. Next up is Otterbein and Muskingum. And let me tell you, I caught the tail end of this Muskingum Mount St. Joe's game. the Fighting Muskies are going to be something in the OAC. I am not saying that they're going and knocking off Mount Union or John Carroll, but they seem to have finally, Coach Yater there, he's finally seemed to get things rolling. Otterbein lost, as I said earlier, 26-7 to Ohio Wesleyan. Muskingum with a 7-point victory over Mount St. Joe's, 42-35. And last year, Muskingum won this matchup 27-14. How did we all fall?
We all fell on Muskingum.
Rolling with the Fighting Muskies. Next up, it's our first ranked game of the week. SUNY Brockport, who beat Buffalo State 27-0, travels to number 11 Susquehanna, who beat the Breaks off of Bridgewater 41-7. And last year, we talked about the 48-46 game between Crown and Simpson. This game was a little closer. It was 6-5.
Oh, wow.
So I got to imagine that Brockport, we had them on the show earlier this season. I know that this was a game that was, whether they want to admit to it or not, you circled that game 6-5 loss. None of us went with Brockport. It's nothing against them, but Susquehanna really seems to. They took that Grove City loss last year in the playoff, and they seem to want to. They're going to put points up. That seems to be the message. Is we're going to outscore. If we outscore our opponent, they can't beat us. So we all took Susquehanna, number 11 Susquehanna, and this is where we get into the meat. This is the meat of it. The big ranked games that we have this week. Number 16 Endicott versus number 24 Ithaca. Now I'm going to say this right now. Ithaca falling as far as they fell.
What, 4 spots?
I get it. They lost. We're trying to maneuver. They took number 8 Johns Hopkins to the wire. They did have a 17-0 lead that they gave up. I don't think that this is going to be a happy Bombers team. But let's get into how each team did last week. Number 16 Endicott beat St. Lawrence 44-13. As I said, number 24 Ithaca lost 27-23 to number 8 Johns Hopkins. Last year Ithaca won the meeting
20-17.
So total we've had a 6-5, a 48-6, and now we got our 1 or 2 and our 3-point wins out of the way. We all took Ithaca. I think Endicott's got a really good chance this year of being one of those playoff teams that's going to make a run. I just think they're running into an Ithaca team that's going to be a little perturbed from the week before. So we're rolling with the Bombers. Now we get into 3 games, and the reason these last 3 games are where they were is because we had a little bit of a disagreement as a group. We had 3 different nominations for Game of the Week. The 3 games that we nominated for Game of the Week were Wartburg St. John's, the 4 versus the 12, the 1 versus the 14 in North Central and Aurora, and what we ended up picking as our Game of the Week, which I'll get to here in a second. St. John's won 49-0 over Carthage last week. Wartburg won 38-24 in a really hard-fought game against a really good Monmouth team. And the last time these two met, another 3-pointer.
Another 3-pointer, 23-20.
2 years ago. So they took a break from playing this game. They come back. They're playing it again this year. They're at St. John's. I took St. John's because I'm a Johnny. I like the Johnnies. They've always been good to us.
Me and DB went with Wartburg.
And that logical. They're the 4th best team in the country right now. And this was DB's pick.
Yes.
For what he wanted for Game of the Week. Made a lot of sense. Really close matchup. The next one, North Central and Aurora. This was my pick for Game of the Week. I got overruled. Number 1, North Central, was on a bye last week, so they just got to sit at home.
Cruise on by.
Get a little, I don't think they were cruising. I think there's a lot of hungry Cardinals out there. Until somebody beats North Central again, I'm going to say they're the best team in the country. Aurora was in a little bit of a dogfight early with Dubuque. They ended up coming out winning 33-21. The last time these two teams played was in 2021, and North Central won 64-7. I picked North Central. You picked North Central. DB picked North Central. And then, here we are. It's our game of the week. This one was picked by none other than the host of this segment. I know, it's crazy that she's the host because she only says like 7 words to the whole thing. But, number 17, Oshkosh, versus number 21, Linfield. This game hasn't been played since 2012.
Interesting.
So it's and I'm before I read what happened last week, I want you to tell everybody why you felt that this was the game of the week.
I felt that this deserved to be the game of the week because not only was Oshkosh not ranked previously, but they are now ranked above Linfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that just plays an interesting aspect on this game.
Puts a little chip
Yeah.
on the shoulder of
Of
Linfield.
Linfield, so we'll see.
Number 17, Oshkosh, at the time unranked. Upset number 9, Wheaton. Another game that I caught Oshkosh's last drive and then the defensive drive that ensued after that, which was 16-seconder. But Oshkosh looked really good. Got the win, 21-14. Linfield beat Denison 31-7, and this one Linfield got out early, and it just kind of was, they were on cruise control. Oshkosh won this meeting the last time they played, once again in 2012, 31-24. UNDB took
Oshkosh.
riding with the WEAC this year, huh?
Yes, we are.
I took Linfield. I like that West Coast team. I think that they're
And they've also consistently really stayed
right around.
right around the spot that they're in, so.
Now, let's talk about game of the week last week. While we're going to wrap some things up here. Game of the week last week, I think Alma played a hell of a game, but River Falls really showed that they are just as much of a real deal as Lacrosse, who handled RPI, Wisconsin Whitewater, who handled John Carroll. There was just a lot of wins coming out of that conference. I saw one school out of the WEAC did not get a win. It was a close game. I saw another school. It was a 67-0 win for them at Fed of the show Platteville. A lot of good games happened. A lot of good games that we didn't even have on our board happened. Like I said, that Ithaca John Hopkins game was a nail biter there. Ithaca gets up 17. John Hopkins starts working their way back into it. Then all of a sudden, every time I looked at the screen, the ball was moving around. Got to watch the Grove City game. That was the game on KDKA Plus. Grove City and Geneva. Grove City looks just as good as they did last year, if not better. I caught the Brockport Buffalo State game. Brockport looked really good. Buffalo State looked really good. Western New England, our guest from last week, went down to the wire with Springfield. I don't think a lot of people had that on their how that game was going to play out. So there's a lot of good D3 football to start the season off. And here we are in week 2, and then before you know it, week 3 will be here, and we'll be in Mount Union. So
Yeah.
You got anything else for them folks?
I do. Make sure that you guys are tuning into the Twitter. He has been live tweeting the games. So
Game of the week and a couple other games if I can. Also, make sure if you're not, you check out the Twitter page, the Instagram page, our TikTok page. They're all DingoTalk, except for the Instagram page. It's Dingo_talk. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you're listening on Spotify, just tap a like. I don't think you can subscribe. You can follow. Follow on Spotify. It's a weird way to say that. And I'm going to push it all year. If you haven't yet, make sure you get onto QBs versus Cancer. Make a donation. We had a little bit of a bidding war going on this past weekend. Myself and a couple other people, we were just trying to raise the money for a great organization, a great cause. But yeah, thank you to Coach Mack for joining us, and we'll see you next week, Chuckleheads.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @DingoTalk.